Hello, so this is Miss Phillips. And before you start the lab for today, the virtual lab on measurement and kind of confidence in measurement, I wanted to just quickly review a few parts of the activity from yesterday and just kind of make sure we're all on the same page. And hopefully, this will kind of help lead you into the lab that you're going to do today so it makes a little bit more sense before you get started. So, one of the pages for the activity from yesterday, you were looking at different instruments. Some of them had more markings than others, and you were typing, a measurement for each one. So, one thing to remember is that the last digit or place value for your measurement always needs to be a guess or an estimate. Okay. And I'll explain why that is here in just a second. So, just to start off, if I'm looking at this first thermometer, right? If someone asked you what the temperature was, you would probably not tell them 21 or 22. You kind of automatically kind of guess in your head. You're like, oh, well, it's, about 21 and a half, maybe, or maybe 21.6. Okay, it's a little bit over the half mark. So, I might say 21.6. Okay, so you kind of already guess this or make this estimate without even really realizing it, that you're doing it. Over here, the second thermometer, I can see that I actually have those little markings to the tenths place. So I know that it's at least 21, and then I can count my markings. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I know it's 21.6. So my original estimate over here, I was correct. But I can still estimate even further at this point. Okay, I still need to make that estimate for my last place value. So I don't know, it's pretty close to the top. So I'm going to say 8. Okay, so 21.68. So here, because I have more markings, I have my numbers or my measurement, okay, is going to have more place values in the actual measurement itself. Basically, all this is showing is I'm more confident in my measurement or in my answer because I had more markings on my tool, on the instrument that I was using. So here we can do the same thing for a graduated cylinder. Okay, so remember, we always measure from the meniscus of a graduated cylinder. So if I look here, I know that it's definitely 60 milliliters. And then I have some markings here, so I can count my markings. Let's see, they're each worth, or they're one a piece. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I know it's 60.7. Okay, but that point 0.7, I'm certain of that number because I have a marking for it. So remember, the last place value or number of my measurement always has to be an estimate. So here it looks like it's right on the nose for the 0.7. So I still have to have an estimate, so I can just put a 0. That's how I can show that it's still an estimate, but it's just right on that 0.7. Okay, and then I can do the same thing with this one over here. So I know it's at least 4 point, and then it looks like it goes all the way up to 9. Okay, and then it's kind of right on the 9, but I have to have that estimate so I can put a 0. Okay, or maybe you think it's right below that 0.9, so maybe it's 0.89. Okay, but the main point that you need to understand, kind of the key point, is that this last digit here is always an estimate. Okay, so that's really important when you're moving into today's lab, that when you're taking measurements from some of the videos that you're going to see using these instruments, that when you're writing down your measurement, you need to go one place value past, what's actually marked there. Okay, so you need to make sure you're including that estimate as that last digit. Okay, so what this leads us into kind of talking about are these terms for certain and uncertain. So you can kind of check your answers, what you got yesterday. Okay, so if I'm looking at the 1 in this measurement here, right? Well, is it certain or uncertain? Well, if I look at my ruler, I'm given 1 and I'm given 2, so I know that it's at least 1. So I can say that it is certain. I'm definitely certain it's at least 1. Okay, but and I'm certain of it because I actually have markings, right? I can see the 1 there on the ruler. When I start looking at the 7, though, I don't have markings for my tenths place. So I'm not really certain that it's zero point 0.7. It could be zero point 0.6. Okay. But that's okay because knowing that that pencil is 1.7 centimeters long instead of just saying it's 1 centimeter long, right? I'm a lot closer to my actual correct length. Okay, this 1.7 is much more precise of a measurement than just saying it's 1 or 2. Okay, I'm because I can guess that last digit. Okay, it leads to a more precise measurement. So even though it's uncertain, okay, because I made an estimate, okay, it's still a better measurement than just saying 1 or 2. Okay, and so what this is kind of leading us into is talking about confidence in our measurements. That's what we're going to kind of look at for the lab. So, for example, if I'm looking at this, at the temperatures, right, my values for my temperature, if something is 21.6 or 21.68, if I'm comparing those numbers, I'm going to assume that whoever made this 21.68 is much more confident in their measurement because they have more place values. Okay, it would be like saying, let's look at this ruler here, right? If I'm comparing this, right, I'm not going to be as confident in my measurement of 2 point, I don't know, maybe 8, maybe 7. Okay, I'm not going to be as confident in that answer as when I'm using this ruler where I can actually count out my markings. Okay, and I think it does go up right up to 2.8. Okay, or close. So I'm much more confident in this answer because I have these smaller markings and more gradations to help me measure. So that's what's kind of leading up into the lab, the lab video that you're going to watch. Or complete by watching videos, basically. So there's, let me scroll without messing things up. So you're going to look at some different instruments, including a graduated cylinder and a beaker in the lab. And you're going to kind of basically compare the different measurements made by different instruments. Okay. And then you're going to compare those measurements to the right answer. And you're going to kind of try to figure out, well, which one has more error? Okay, so for example, if I was comparing these two different mass balances, which one is going to get me closer to the right answer, or which one is going to give me a greater margin of error? Okay, so just by looking at the numbers, like these values here, okay, you might could go ahead and take a guess. Well, which one do you think is giving me a more confident answer? Okay, so that's basically what you're doing in the lab. There's a couple different parts. The first 2 parts are actually taking some measurements and comparing them and trying to see which instrument is going to give us, the more confident answer, the more precise answer of measurement. And then the last part is just introducing you to some other lab equipment that when we go back to school, we will be using. So it's just a good introduction, just so that you're somewhat familiar with it. If you have any questions while you're completing the lab, please reach out to your teacher. We'd be happy to help you. It's really not as bad as you think it's going to be, even though it seems a little long. A lot of it is just space for video and instructions. So it shouldn't take you too long to work through. If you need help, please reach out and good luck.